How many times have you been driving to work and you've seen a person running by the side of the road in the middle of nowhere and you think to yourself, why are they punishing themselves like this? And the answer is, running gives you that ultimate sense of freedom.
The greatest test a runner can face is conquering an ultramarathon. It's a physical and mental battle that pushes an athlete to the edge of what's possible, beyond the everyday and into the realms of extreme human achievement. And in Australia, there's no more inspiring an ultramarathon than the North Face 100. It's one of the most spectacular in the world, traversing the stunning Blue Mountains as the runners tackle the gruelling 100-kilometre journey. For some, it's an opportunity to race against the clock and fellow competitors in an attempt for glory, while for others, the challenge is simply to finish.
The North Face 100 started in 2008 and it came about just to produce a 100-kilometre ultramarathon that was both iconic and tough. It could have been anywhere in Australia. And after 4 months of scouting around, we decided on the Blue Mountains. The course took a lot of surveying. We had to get approvals from lots of local landholders, national parks and council. We just wanted it to be iconic so that competitors had plenty to look at all day long. We just love spectacular views. I would never set a tough course. I would never try setting a tough course. However, if there's something really nice to look at and it involves a big hill, then the course will go up that big hill. We never envisaged that this event would turn into what it has.
When I came here 2 years ago, I'd never been to the Blue Mountains, and it looked like that this was the race to do in Australia. I think it's probably the most prestigious race to run in Australia. It's probably one with the most well-known internationally. So yeah, I came out to do it, as I said, 2 years ago and had such an awesome time. I've been back every time.
I guess I dabbled in ultra running a little bit when I was still doing marathons, but mainly on the road. And then I saw this as a new challenge. Running 100 kilometres through the bush offers a lot more challenges in terms of terrain and elevation. And so I decided then to step into the ultra running trail scene. And then when I moved up to the Blue Mountains, then it just became my training ground. So this is now like what I do.
I'd be doing all the training anyway, and coming up here, it's just a good excuse to come up here and run. So I figured, well, if I'm doing all the training just for fun, I may as well just do the event because I don't find it a chore. I really do love it.
I was taking my daughter to the gym and I met a lady in the car park who said her and her husband run 100-kilometre marathons. And I went, what? How crazy, who would do that? And I came home and told Dave and he went, oh, that sounds good. Can you find out more about that?
I'm not stupid. I'm never running on that course.
The reason I think I kind of love it so much is I love the feeling, not necessarily during the event, but after the event when you do go through so much. You can't do 100 kilometres and not feel bad at some point. And I do feel quite bad at points, and that's where you question yourself and you go, why am I doing this? What am I doing here?
Just the freedom of it all, the sense of well-being that it gives you, being able to just feel good about yourself, get stronger. And I'll tell you what, running, you can't cut corners. You find out a lot about yourself. You can't cheat on yourself, if you want to better yourself.
Why? Because it gives me a lot of pleasure. I love getting out in nature and running. It's good for my health, and also it's great for the company and the people that you meet along the way.
We get top athletes, we get people coming across from marathon, we get people who've done off-road, shorter off-road trail events, we get people who've done other ultra events, but the bulk of our people have done almost nothing before. They've got into trail running because it's such a magnificent sport. We had a lady in the second year, read some articles about the event, and she had a goal that she would train up, so in 18 months' time she'd be fit and ready to compete and finish the North Face 100. She did that. She lost 45 kilograms, turned up at the start line and finished the event, and got a tattoo on her ankle to show how proud she was. It attracts all sorts of different people. You cannot stereotype who is going to show up at the event. And when we initially came up with the event 6 years ago, we didn't necessarily want to attract the top athletes only. We wanted to attract everyone. And they have simply turned up in droves to do what they see as a huge life challenge.
Train harder, race faster, recover quicker with Endura Sports Nutrition.
Yeah, I think the mental thing is the real surprise I had last year, because I think physically you kind of get to a point, I think, where 100 Ks or even more, it's just a long way to run. So there's only so much training you can do.
You do have to be somewhat mentally strong to get through to 100 kilometres. It takes all different people's and motivations and just what you're thinking in the day. I mean, I know from personal experiences, if you start thinking the wrong thing in your head, you can go downhill pretty quick.
What the characteristic is of a person who comes to these things is someone who's grateful. Just grateful that you are alive and you're able, you're physically able. And there's so many people in the world who have far less capability, like physically constrained with disability or whatever, and they go out and do enormous things. And, so yeah, don't waste a minute.
Blood Vargin, second place last year. Third place last year, Andrew Tuckey. We are going in 1 second. Let's go, guys!
You can feel the release of nervous energy when the race finally gets underway. All those weeks of training and preparation, the countless hours on the trails and roads were all about this moment, the time when the competitors cross the start line and begin the adventure. At the front of the field, nearing the 7-kilometre point, Brendan Davies had a small lead over the rest of the favourites. But with such a long way to go, the race was far from decided. The first leg of the course takes competitors from the heights of Lura down into the cold valley floor before grinding its way up the mountain to checkpoint 1.
It suits a real all-rounder, this course. It has a lot of flat fire trail running, so someone with, say, coming from a road marathon background will get some advantages from it, but there's also some significant climbs in it, so it will suit someone with a strong uphill, and there's a few good descents as well. So it's a lot of technical running, but a lot of fire trail too, so it will suit an all-rounder type of runner.
I think it's got a bit of everything in it. It's got some nice fast running, it's got some more technical running, some nice runnable climbs, and then it's some more technical kind of climbing as well when you're running up and down stairs.
There are few more spectacular places in Australia than the Blue Mountains, and for many of the runners, it's the incredible scenery that adds to their motivation to take part in such a gruelling event. Even elite competitors will attest to the important role that being in such inspiring surrounds plays on their motivation. And while those tackling the 100-kilometre race are only just warming up, back at the Fairmont Resort, the start line is once again abuzz with energy as the crowd gathers for the 50-kilometre race.
The 50-kilometre event we brought on in 2013 simply to give people a way into running the 100. 100 kilometres is an awfully long way. It is way too much for a lot of people to even conceive, let alone run. However, the 50 is not too much of a step up from a marathon. So we started the 50 kilometre to attract people that want to also experience this iconic, beautiful area of the Blue Mountains, and to give them the experience of the camaraderie and the spirit of this whole event.
While it might be shorter, the 50-kilometre event is no less spectacular than the longer race. It traverses the same ground as the second half of the 100, only in the opposite direction. And what it lacks in distance, it makes up for in intensity. Many of those in the 50 will graduate to the 100 next year, but for now, their mind is set to the challenge of the day, and what a magnificent day it is. A stream of runners pours across the start line and winds its way into the bush, disappearing from the comforting cheers of spectators and plunging foot first down narrow trails that wind to the valley below. Every stride requires concentration. One wrong step and the race is over. All the hard work to get to the start line can end in a moment.
6Ks, still feeling good.
For every competitor, pain is inevitable, but the disappointment of not finishing is something no one wants to feel. Such is the vastness of the Blue Mountains National Park. In but a few minutes, the runners vanish from sight as they head into the lush and rugged landscape. It's here that the real drama plays out, far from the view or help of their support crews. But it's also the reason the event attracts such a following. The wilderness and sense of freedom it creates is liberating. And once they emerge from the bush, for many of the competitors, they're a new person.
Welcome back to Scenic World. We hope you enjoyed your ride on the world's steepest railway.
A railway steeped in history now has a brand new train with multi-tilt seats. Ride it your way and discover an experience that will stay with you. Scenic World. See the world at a whole new angle.
The section course between checkpoint 1 and checkpoint 3 is some of the most spectacular of the whole event. It goes along Narrowneck, which has beautiful views out into the Wild Dog Mountains. It goes down Taros Ladders, which is a bit of a challenge added to the event. But there's also some tough little sections. There's a climb of about 300 metres on stairs to get up to checkpoint 1 on the Golden Staircase. And then there's also quite a rugged section out on Iron Pot Ridge, which is only in the course because it's my favourite part of the whole Blue Mountains. This section is a very tough section, however it's so beautiful that it's really hard, I think, to feel pain because there's just so much to look at.
Rolled ankle, mate. I rolled it twice. Once at 2K and once at 7K.
Oh, I'm just not very well. I probably never should have started. But, you know, you just can't let yourself not.
Just a tear in my right Achilles tendon. Yeah, it's very painful. Coming down all those beautiful stairs on the way down to the valley floor. So, just how it goes, unfortunately. Have to come back and do it all again next year.
I don't want people to feel pain. I really don't. I just want them to have a good time in the bush.
I was really looking forward to the day. I was really looking forward to the night. I was really looking forward to the pain and the suffering and the just pushing through all of that stuff you got to get through to actually complete the 100 kilometres, but I felt I could do it. And then I just felt that I was actually going to really do myself damage if I kept on going. And I didn't want to... the helicopter ride sounded good, but I really felt I should pull out. What it takes is just the desire to get out there and just do it. I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's really sufferance. I say sufferance is underrated. You know, I think more people should get into it, and they'd be a whole lot better for it.
Feeling pretty good, but still a big climb to go, so just gotta keep it under control and get to the next checkpoint.
It's not going too bad today. Weather's good, feeling pretty solid, and now the race gets interesting. Got the big climb coming up the Kadumba, so it's going to be the deciding point.
Shit. The race is a challenge for not only the runners, but all those involved. By this point, competitors are starting to really feel the hurt. They've covered some serious terrain, although there's still more than 35 kilometres to go. Back at the Fairmont, the first of the 50-kilometre runners is crossing the finish line, and it's Vlad Shatrov taking the glory in a solid 4 hours, 16 and a half minutes. Some 14 minutes later, Jared Kolar came through in second place, and his jubilation couldn't have been more apparent. With the winners in the 50 crossing the finish line, back down the trail, those taking on the full distance continue their battle.
Oh, just struggling a bit the last little bit, just been cramping up, so wish I might break into a run at cramps at the moment, so yeah, not far away from the aid station, and see if I can get someone to fix it, but yeah, it's tough coming up Nellie's Glen and just kept cramping on the stairs, so yeah.
What speed are we going?
14 Ks.
Oh, wow!
Feeling all right?
Oh my God.
That's a lie. Every friggin' thing hurts.
14 Ks.
It's been a rough ride up those steps, but hanging in there. I'm very glad to see the checkpoint.
Checkpoint 4 is where the runners return to civilization. Having endured the rigours of climbing mountains and rocky trails, here they can refuel their minds and bodies before heading back into the battlefield of the Blue Mountains.
Train harder. Race faster. Recover quicker. With Endura Sports Nutrition.
"65 kilometres into the race, and the Katoomba Aquatic Centre is somewhat of a haven. Family, friends and support crew gather here for a chance to see their heroes and lend some supporting words. Never before has a banana, a mandarin and a cup of Endura tasted so good, nor has a hug from a loved one been so comforting.
Ready? Do you want to give Daddy a hug? Ready? 1, 2, 3, woo!
24, including a massive 7K climb. And then we got a fun run at the end for 11Ks. So we're going to try and do most of it as we can in the light. Try and minimise running in the dark.
He didn't talk this much on the stairs, guys.
Checkpoint 4 is at the 65 kilometre mark, so the runners have covered 2/3 of the course by that point. This is make or break time for most of the runners. That point where before that is generally a lot of daytime, after that is generally a lot of night time. After checkpoint 4, they get into remote country. Very difficult to get out of. You can't just pack your things up and walk away. You need rescue with first aid crews. So checkpoint 4, it's almost like a heart of darkness to people. They get in there, they see their support crew. Some of them just don't want to leave.
There's some tendons, you know, it's done.
It's beautiful scenery though. No, I'm running with her, so I've stopped with her. So yeah, try and get back to the starting line somehow. So it's alright. Other days.
That's nice. I would have just kept going.
I was telling him to, but no.
Absolutely spent
I don't know, it's just pretty hard. You got to be mentally tough, I think. It's not something you can just sort of turn up on a Saturday and say, oh, I might do the North Face 100. This will sort of really see what you like.
Leaving the comfort of checkpoint 4, the runners head out to what's arguably the toughest part of the race. Already tired and sore, there's still more mountains to traverse, including the 9-kilometre grind up from Kadumba Valley. Our race leaders are reaching the top and fast approaching the last checkpoint, but the final 11 kilometres is still a serious challenge. Brendan Davies was the first to arrive at checkpoint 5 and leaving had an unassailable lead. Quickly covering the final leg, a crowd gathered to watch him cross the line in a new record of 9 hours, 16 minutes and 12 seconds. His elation, relief and joy were all visible. He had achieved a dream and conquered the challenge of the North Face 100.
Very emotional, mate. I was shedding a tear. This is the biggest win of my career, and it's been a long time coming. And it's my local event. I live in the Blue Mountains, so it just means so much to me.
Repeating his performance from 2012, in second place was New Zealand's Vagin Armstrong in an adjusted time of 9 hours, 42 minutes and 22 seconds. And shortly after came the always competitive Andrew Tuckey, rolling home to pass Rob Walter in the final leg and finish in third place for the second consecutive year. Further down the trail, runners were starting to stream through, including previous winner Andrew Lee, who was holding down 7th place, and the first of our female competitors, Beth Cardelli.
Hey.
Pushing yourself is what this event is all about. It's only at the extremes of your physical and mental limits that you discover what you're truly capable of. And that's what brings the elite athletes back year after year. Having blown away her competitors, Beth hopped and stumbled across the line in a new women's record of 11 hours, 1 minute and 8 seconds. Some 43 minutes later came Jo Bruschetto, with Shona Stephenson placing third.
The runners that win the North Face 100 are incredible athletes and I've got utmost respect for them. I've got just as much respect for the people that come in 8, 12, 14 hours later. The people that don't do this ultra running training day in, day out, they take this event up as a once in a lifetime challenge, and for them to come across the finish line is dramatic. You know, I'm nearly in tears seeing some of these people cross the line and seeing what it means.